Hello, midnight coders. Step inside the igloo. Coffee's on. Pour yourself a cup. Have a seat. In tonight's episode, Hayden and I are chatting with our guest, Ethan, who is the author of the free online ebook, Modern Java. So, Ethan, tell us a little bit, a quick little thing about your book before we dive into tonight's topic about refactoring.
Is targeted mainly at absolute beginners. You can find it linked in the description below. And if that is you, I promise it will be very helpful learning Java for the first time.
Heck yeah. I've read it personally. It's honestly the best out there. I hate these books that are like, this is what you do, not how you do it. I like how thoroughly your book actually explains what, why, how. And I think that's
Right.
very valuable.
Actually, for our
I
viewers,
like my book too.
do you have since we're looking at your screen right now, can you show us the front page of your book?
Oh, yeah, sure. Here it is. I won't go too in depth here. We have another thing to talk about tonight, but this is it. There's a bunch of sections. It's intended for someone to follow through top to bottom. It is a free thing. I need to find a way to make money on this. It's simply too good. That's probably a good jumping off point for our topic for tonight, which is going to be refactoring a old code base. And the code base we're going to be doing this for is this here, JBox2D. Now, for those unaware, Box2D is a well-established 2D physics framework, right? And here's some demos of the actual Box2D, which is a C library. You see how these rectangles are colliding, sliding, all sorts of things with each other. I don't know how this is written, really. JBox2D, as is described here, is a port of Box2D to pure Java. And it hasn't been touched in
5 years. Nope, 2
around
years.
5 years. If we talk about the actual code itself, clearly there's still bumping dependencies. It's not abandoned, right? The issue here isn't someone wrote JBox2D and it's gathering dust. We'll go into what the issue is, but it's a library. It does this physics math, and it's been sort of untouched for quite a while. Now, what we can do nowadays that they couldn't when they were writing this is something called flattened memory layouts. Now, I'll give a little primer here. So I'm not talking about something that is in Java quite yet, right? We're using a preview of Java. It's built on Java 26, and right now 25 is the currently released one. And it's part of something called Project Valhalla. It's called this because the idea is that this is the promised land for Java, right? Essentially, in days past, if you have a class like this, so a class vector, and a vector has a x and a y component. If you have a big array of vectors, you would expect, so like, let's say we have 3 vectors here, 0, 1, then 5, 3, then 7, 7. You would expect them to be all stored in memory kind of contiguous. In reality, because of choices made in Java, what it will be is it will be a pointer to memory that represents 0 and 1, followed by another pointer to memory that represents 5 and 3, and so on.
And these
And
pointers could be
Yep.
anywhere in memory, right? It's just wherever the JVM chooses it to be fit.
Yeah, so these pointers are going to point to hypothetically arbitrary locations. Now, why
Okay.
is this an issue? This is an issue because in modern CPUs, there are what we call cache lines, right? So here's our CPU, and all the way over here is our RAM, right? So if you buy a computer and it has 16 gigabytes of RAM, this is what it's talking about. So if your CPU wants to access something in memory, so let's say it wants to see, hey, what is the actual value behind this pointer? It needs to talk to RAM. Now, an unfortunate thing is that as RAM capacities have gone up, so this is 16 or 32 or however many gigabytes now, RAM latencies have also gone up. So the amount of time it takes for the CPU to ask RAM a question and get an answer back is very long. And so what they do instead is whenever the CPU asks RAM a question, it will cache the result, meaning it'll ask, hey, what's that memory address? Call it 15. And it will also ask everything up to memory address like 30. And then if it's about to ask what's in 16, instead of asking RAM, it has it in its cache, right? And CPUs have multiple levels of caches even. So there's what's called the L1, L2, L3, meaning level 1, level 2, and level 3 caches. And basically what this means in practice is that the more pointers you have to hop around, the slower a program is going to be. So ideally what you would want is to give Java the ability to actually store these things right next to each other in memory. And that would make it so that when your CPU talks to RAM that first time, it can cache all the rest of them. And the mechanism for this is something called value classes. Value classes, as opposed to regular classes, so let's say value class vec, do not have what we call identity, right? Int x, int y. And we'll go into all the implications of this as we actually touch some code. But because they don't have identity, Java is way more free to put them flat in arrays or flatten them in memory, right? They do not need pointers. And so the reason we're touching JBox2D is because, as you might imagine, a physics engine uses a lot of vectors and positions and constructs made with those. And so if we can just simply mechanically move everything over to using value classes, the thought is that it'll just be faster. This is one motivation. The other is that this sort of activity is legitimately what I do sometimes to fall asleep, because it's a very, we'll get into it, but it's a very calming thing. So what I've done right now is I forked the JBox2D repo, right? So just an exact copy, and I have it open here in my editor. And so to see what I mean, and you see some red here, we'll get to the red, but if we run compile, everything should be fine. Warnings, but warnings never killed anybody. At least not these kinds of warnings. So let's just click into a random file here, AABB, which stands for Axis Aligned Bounding Box. And this has two fields, a lower bound and an upper bound. And so all we're going to do is go here and say this is a value class, which, to make IntelliJ understand, we need to go into our project structure. And I've already downloaded the experimental JDK. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell it, hey, we are using experimental features. And that should be enough. Run compile again.
Did I see somewhere in there that you were set onto language 13? Yes.
Was
So there is a weird thing going on where in the source code, and I'll show you where this is. Let's make sure these are all on experimental features.
There we go.
So remember, this hasn't been touched in 5 years, and 13 is around where it would happen. This used to read Java a Maven compiler source 13. I changed it. I don't think it was picked up. But now it should be. Yeah, so here we are. Value class AABB. Everything works. And we haven't... Basically what's going to happen is I'm going to slap value on a class. If it compiles, we move on, and we don't think about it. If it doesn't compile, we need to fix it. And we'll go into what we need to fix when we actually need to. But one of the major restrictions is that for value classes, all of their fields need to be final. And this is because value classes don't have identity, right? Think about it like if you're a person, you have a name, and you change your name, you're still the same person because you have an identity that is separate from the properties about you, right? Two people with the same name, same age, same everything are still generally distinguishable. Two axis-aligned bounding boxes that have the same lower and upper bound, by default in Java, are distinguishable. They're distinguishable by the identity of the instance. If you give up that ability, then you get these extra optimizations. But part of giving up the ability to be uniquely identified is giving up mutable fields, right? Because if you could change a field of a thing, you need a thing to refer to. Part of what lets Java flatten axis-aligned bounding boxes in memory is that it can just copy the axis-aligned bounding box however it wants. It doesn't matter, right? Because no part of the code will be able to distinguish it. So there we are. There's the first one. And collision, got a lot of stuff going on here. And you see as I go through this, I'm not thinking too hard, right? And that's partly because there's a lot here, and it's just hard to suss everything out at first glance, and it's partially because that's the way you have to approach things like this to keep your sanity.
Yeah, most times when people think about refactoring a project, they think that it's a kind of a large-scale, overwhelming project.
Yeah, and it can be, right? It depends on the kind of refactor you're doing. And we'll see, there is one part of this that's going to be pretty hard. But for right now, things should be fine. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to try to run this testbed main. We changed one class. Let's get everything running. So it says the entry point for the testbed application. So this should give us some form of a demo of it working. So we'll run this, and we get an error. And look into what the error is. So here we have a GWT-EMUL, so for Google Web Toolkit Emulation, that's what it stands for. And in here we have some classes that are presumably defined other places as well. That's where we're getting the duplicate class error. Google Web Toolkit is a way to compile Java code to run in a web browser. There are a few paths forward. All of them would require us to get Google Web Toolkit updated to this experimental version of Java, which is the whole premise behind what we're doing. Instead of that, I'm just going to delete it. And we'll do that as we need to, because we're just choosing not to care anymore, which I think is fair.
I love it.
Now, I have a couple questions for you about Valhalla. So, the first one, if you have a value class, does its properties also need to inherit the value keyword? So if you have fields in that class, do they also need to be values?
No, they do not. And that is why, and I'll get back to our axis-aligned bounding box in a second, which is just a good starting place. That is why it worked, right? Because vec2, which access line bounding box has a lower and upper bound, both of those are vectors. Vec2 is not yet a value class, and it still worked. So no, you do not need to.
Okay, and that brings me to
Yep.
another question. If you do not need the mutability, should we default to using value classes for all classes going forwards in Java, just to gain that extra bit of performance?
There are arguments for and against. I think one of the arguments for is that in the same way you would make a class final if you don't know that someone wants to extend you, you could make a class a value class if you don't know you actually want identity. Because adding identity later is easier than not having it. Adding it later is easier than starting with it and trying to remove it. Hypothetically, right? A lot of these hypotheticals have to do with the scenario of you, and see this is a fun little animation. They have to do with the scenario of you published a library and you have some indeterminate amount of people who consume it. And that's not always the case, right? So yes, I would say in general, yeah, sure, slap value on everything, especially things like records, right, which are almost value classes already. It's just the very small things. The argument against it is that some behaviors for value classes, specifically things like how equals equals works, can leak internal fields. Now, again, we are deep in the hypothetical of you have 1 million consumers. If you use equals equals, it will, on a normal class with identity, it will just compare identity. That's what it does. If you use equals equals on a value class, it's going to go through each field one by one and do the equals equals. So there is weird stuff that can happen there.
Now, value classes, do they still inherit object.equals? Can you still check them manually?
Yes, you can still implement object equals.
Okay.
It's just the equals equals operator, like the system identity comparison is different. So one thing you might have noticed I needed to do here is I needed to make a second class to call our testbed main. This is due to some weirdness with how JavaFX was removed from the Java bundle. Basically, if you try to run a class directly, which is what we're doing here, that extends JavaFX application, but the JavaFX dependencies aren't on the quote-unquote module path, which most people don't know about because most build tools don't support it that good, it'll just error. But if you have it start from a second class and just do the thing, it'll use JavaFX from your class path just fine. And that is a trick I needed to learn. But anyways, we got our test bed running. We can see code still broadly seems to work. We even check a box here, which seems to show our access aligned bounding boxes. We got other things, dam break. And for total clarity, this is my first time seeing this. I had not gotten it running yet. So okay, we didn't break it by making access line bounding box a value class. Another thing we can do, and we'll do this before and we'll do it during, but we'll also do it after, is part of this test bed is a profile. And so remember, the only thing we expect to come out of this is the code gets faster. If it doesn't get faster, there was no point.
Have we run a benchmark yet for the initial?
No, we have not. We're going to run a benchmark now with the access line bounding box, and we're going to run it without. And I expect very little difference because there's a bunch of classes going on here, and we haven't changed many of them.
So if everything does get turned into a value class, what would your prediction be for the efficiency gain that we're going to see?
So I don't know. I did a demo with value classes before with a ray tracing program. There's this book, Ray Tracing in a Weekend, and I just followed through it and did it in Java with value classes instead of C++. And it was like, I don't know, 20% faster, something like that. One thing that's holding us back here is, even though the explanation I gave about arrays is true, Java is not going to be able to actually flatten most of these things because of what is called atomicity, that gets deep in the weeds. Basically, we're not going to think about how it's going to make things faster. We're just going to rub fast juice on this. And if it works, cool. If it doesn't, then we have to think.
Absolutely.
Right?
If you're
I love it.
Remember,
I love it.
Right, so if
remember
you're
how
not
I
seeing
framed this. This is a thing I do to fall asleep. I'm not. I'm very intentionally not thinking about this stuff. So okay, we're not going to spend this much time on every single one of these, but we ran this once, and we'll run it again.
Just to get a
So
benchmark.
I'm going to assume that if you slap this fast juice on everything and you're not seeing a performance gain, you could almost automatically assume that it's something about your implementation that is your bottleneck.
I don't know, because there's a few things going on here, right? Like there is the promises of value classes, but also we're using an early access build. Who knows,
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
The thought is that it will be faster. And if it isn't, there's people I can complain to and be like, hey, you said this was fast juice. It didn't work. And then we can figure out if it's a me issue or if it's not. Okay. After running these, I'm gonna say that, wait a second. This wasn't even testing what we wanted to test. This is testing their implementations of sine, cosine, and whatever, which I don't care about. Is this going to be... Yeah, okay. Broad phase performance test. So broad phase, I know that word from the phrase broad phase collision detection. So I know it's something to do with collision detection, which is a large part of what this does. So we're just going to run this. We're also going to see piston world, performance test world. Make sure this is getting used. Yeah, sure. Okay. We run broad phase performance test. Get rid of these numbers. So, okay. This is without axis aligned bounding box being a value class. Now we're going to make it a value class, which again, this is just the simplest one for us to have done that to. We're going to make sure run compile. I'm intentionally not trusting IntelliJ too much.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes when I build my project, I know that it depends on the compile task and whatnot, but I'll clean my workspace, hit compile, then run my application. Just to make sure. I do the exact same thing.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay, so this is 0.735. This was 0.741. Now, I don't know if this is repeatable because you see the standard deviation here. Like, both of these numbers. You know what? No. I'm willing to call it.
Can I get you, can I get you to, yeah, thank you.
Performance numbers are always something. So this is pre value class.
Yeah, so I already see some difference. I already see
I already see a difference. I'm going to run this again because who knows if that's hallucinated. That's why I was trying to point out is
right. And for those watching, you could also use some sort of benchmarking framework like JMH to warm up the JVM. Do this multiple times so you get the JIT compiler taking into effect, and you can get more accurate results.
Right.
I think that one's a little bit lower. I think that one's a little lower.
Yeah. So we're not going to spend too much time on this, but we're making use of the benchmarks we got, which is what they wrote before. I don't even know what this is testing exactly. So high chance that this is all just noise and it doesn't matter. But we're going to continue forward, right? This is we'll call it an early positive sign. If this number doubled, that'd be bad. But okay, the big target here, and the thing that's going to be the stickiest is vec2, because vec is probably what's used the most. It's 2 floats, but these floats are mutable. And there's a bunch of places in the code where they just mutate them. And you can't do that with a value class. So we're going to kind of get everything around it, and then we are going to tackle it, because that's going to be probably the last one to tackle. And as we go, I'm going to make commits. So we've already done AABB. And the reason I'm making commits is so that we can roll back later. And actually, I should have done a branch. Okay, cool. Master, and we will... How do you do this? A lot of people learn how to use Git. I didn't. Not
I'm in the
really.
same boat. I use the GUI too. I'm not familiar with the CLI tool at all, so I
I mean,
don't know these.
I know the CLI tool. I just consider it not a waste of my life, but like not what I want to spend my time on usually.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There is built-in tools for IntelliJ as well for that.
Something might have gone messed up there when it just reloaded everything. Let's run compile again. Crossing my fingers. Oh, good. Okay. So now let's keep going through. Contact filter. Implement this class to provide collision filtering. In other words, you can implement this class if you want finer control over contact creation. So it seems like this is actually intended to be extended. So that's fine. We leave it alone. The JVM, when it sees something like this, can optimize it. It'll see, oh, there's actually only one class here, contact filter, and nothing extends it that I know about. And it'll just inline stuff if it feels like it. So that's not something we need to worry about.
If you mark a class with value, does it also make the class extend final as well?
Nothing. Yeah, it will also make the class final.
Okay.
It will make it so you cannot be extended.
Right.
Um,
That makes sense.
So
clarify.
there's a lot of things here, and this is a trick I picked up doing things like this. We're gonna do a weird thing, and we're gonna make an annotation. We can call it done. And all this is our comment, so that I know I don't need to look at this class again. And so if I click on contact filter again, I know, oh, that one's done. Okay, contact impulse. Impulse is for reporting. So the other way to do that is to do not done. And that one's a little bit better because you can click to definition, see like, oh, what are all the classes I still need to look at? But because we're doing this,
add a to-do tag, and then in the bottom somewhere, I don't remember where exactly you access it, but it'll show the list of all the to-dos in your project.
Yeah, there's a tab where you can view all of your to-dos. So you can like just
I
do.
like the annotation. I like the annotation approach too. Then after you're done, like after everything's all said and done, you can just delete the annotations.
Yep. Call when any joint is about to be destroyed. So a lot of these things here, these interfaces that return void, I don't know if I need to touch them yet. And the reason is I don't know if things are intended to like mutate the fixture or mutate the joint. If they aren't, then void's fine, right? You're intended to just do some other side effect. But if you are intended to mutate the fixture, and I make fixture a value class, well, this needs to maybe return a new fixture or something. Which actually, that's a good one to jump to. Let's go to joint. Public abstract class joint. And it has, and you see a bunch of things here, like see this M underscore body A. This likely comes from the path this library has taken through its lifespan, right? Where Liquid Fun seemed like a C++ library, Box2D I think is pure C, and at some point when they're mechanically cloning it to Java, they're just going to copy the field names. And M underscore is a very common thing to do in C++ specifically to indicate that a field or that this thing is a member variable, right? That it's a field.
Oh. Interesting.
Not super worth litigating why it's like that, but that just ends up being how things are. So, okay, joint has a bunch of mutable things, and we got a bunch of subtypes here. Now, it's possible to have what's called a value abstract class, right? So long as what's in here doesn't violate the rules for value classes, like if we had all final fields, then we'd be good to go.
If it effectively marks the class as final, could you no longer extend that abstract class?
No. So value abstract classes are classes that are abstract, and subclasses of them can be value classes. They don't
I
have to
see.
be,
Okay.
right? So it requires that in the abstract class, nothing violates the rules of value classes, but subtypes could either be value or non-value,
I see.
right? So let's go here, public abstract class, debug draw. And you see more C-ish patterns, right? Like this is bit flags, where I won't explain that too much, but usually in Java you'd use something like an enum set, and this is a pattern that was very common in C, very common in C++, and very common in old Java even. And that's honestly one of the best reasons to do these sorts of projects, or even if we never finish, right? I will have exposed myself to a bunch of patterns I wouldn't have known about otherwise. Okay, so simplex cache. So see this set method? It is cloning everything from another simplex cache into this.
And
Let's
just to
see.
touch on, sorry, just to touch on what you said there a minute ago, would you recommend this as a way of learning if you're already, say, a junior developer who kind of knows what they're doing, but they want to get further? Would you recommend just refactoring random projects is kind of a good way to get exposure to code bases and different sort of algorithms and design patterns that you see? Or
Yes, and the reason is because professional software development is largely reading code. It is not writing code.
oh yeah,
And reading passively is good, but reading actively, which is what we're doing now, is actually the skill set you most exercise on the job, right? So it helps you drill in your mechanics. It exposes you to patterns you wouldn't know about otherwise. And when you are working, you will be exposed to patterns and like code written by a bunch of other people. And it makes you better at the actual process of reading code, right? Looking at it, interpreting what's there, and doing something based off of it, right? This is closest to what a job is. They are
mm,
much closer than starting a spring e-commerce project or something.
yeah, because
Which,
typically
you
if
know what?
Especially with big monolithic applications where so many people have dipped their hands into the pot, you're probably going to see like a whole variety of different coding styles, and nothing's so consistent. So I think that makes sense that you'd be spending a lot of time reading.
oh,
Right. So,
100%.
okay, here a transform has a vector for a translation, a matrix representing a rotation. And see here, we got this implement serializable. This is a weird Java mechanism. Making something a value class will probably break its quote unquote serial form, but we're just gonna hope there's no tests that depend on this. And actually, based on what I saw, I ran Maven test at a different point. Actually, I probably should run it here, because here I have access to my experimental JDK. I don't think there's any actual tests here. So we should be fine. Remember, we're not caring about library things like make this backwards compatible with old consumers.
Mhm.
Non-serializable class-defined serial version UID. Yeah, so we're not going to care about that too much. That will leave it in. Value classes can be serialized, I'm pretty sure. But okay, first, let's make this a value class. And I expect things to break. Yep. So here, it says field S and C might not have been initialized. And so what this means, so here we call set identity. Ooh. So an identity rotation, I don't know what, yeah, sine cosine. I'll pull out the diagram here in a second, just because I think people don't always remember what sine and cosine mean. Screen share again.
I love the Duke pictures.
They're
I
fun. Right, so a identity rotation is probably stay right here. So cosine of this is 1 and sine of this is 0. Right, just like that line. We're not going to think too much about it. So, okay, by default, this is what we're doing. We're not going to call set identity here. Here, set angle. I'm going to do that. Okay, so now we got these two, well, honestly, these 3 methods, which we just cannot have in a we'll clone. We don't need to clone it anymore. We'll keep it in there just because I technically don't need to touch it.
Yep, and that way you just don't have to remove a bunch of instances of
we're going to have a ton of code to change regardless.
Yeah,
right. See how mul is a what you call multiply and assign, like it is doing the multiplication and then it is assigning the value here. So instead of this, let's deal with, so we got a bunch of red lines here, and I think all of them are a similar pattern. They are like multiply and assign. Let's deal with these dot sets. So here. xf.q.setAngle. So what we'll do is say IntelliJ is not responding. Okay, kids, remember, when you use experimental Java versions,
things can break.
Things can break, right? And that's why this is a task for people who are just having fun.
You didn't even give him a chance to come back. You just killed him. You just took him to the backfield, told him to sniff the flowers, and shot him.
Yep.
I took them all back like all the hour.
Don't need that.
Oh, your set angle one didn't take either.
No, it did not. So I don't know what went wrong there, and I never will. But okay, let's click the definition here. We see we got, oh my god, so many usages of this. And what we can do, basically for literally all of these, we're going to go, okay, it's not responding again.
So what did you do there? Because that was the same thing you did last time. Were you trying to refactor it?
I searched for definition, and then I just tried to edit this. So we are going to use more primitive techniques. And by that I mean we are going to find and replace.
Oh, fuck. Oops. I mean...
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So clearly this causes so many errors, it's not even funny. I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make it value yet, because maybe that's what's engaging everything being bad, but I am going to make this final, right? And just doing that will cause the same red lines, right? There are differences between a identity class that just has final fields and a value class.
Right, but if you could ultimately solve for changing the fields to final and making them immutable, then after you're done with all these red lines, you could, in theory, change it to a value class, and everything will just work.
Yeah, that's because I'm assuming the other properties of instance identity, which are how equals behaves and something like synchronized, just aren't being made use of. Gonna do a quick.
Oh yeah, so that's another thing to note. So you cannot synchronize on a value class because it has no identity, right? There's nothing to lock onto.
That is correct, and honestly, who cares? Like using synchronized happens, right? And if you're looking at a program as a black box, like you're going to make an object and someone's going to do something with it later, yes, that's something to consider. But using your own synchronized blocks ends up being, I won't call it an expert feature, more like a brave person feature, right? There are other concurrency primitives to use, and if you find yourself using or rolling your own concurrency stuff using synchronized, you're not necessarily in a bad spot, but you're not doing
Right.
good.
So what would you recommend instead? Just locking onto some sort of semaphore?
Well, semaphores are like you can have a certain number of threads lock on them and like all go through, and that's usually used for something like you have a database connection and you kind of want to limit yourself to 50 things talking to the database at a time. So use a semaphore for that. There's a class called reentrant lock, which is a bit more flexible than synchronized. Um, Usually you have a higher level concern though, like you want to use a concurrent friendly data structure or like a concurrent hash map or something like that. It's a broad field. I'm not
Right,
going to
something
recommend against
quality type stuff.
synchronized, but like in this case where we were dealing with a class that just represents a rotation, I don't think it matters. Okay. I am going to manually hit save,
And then try this.
do a do a commit to do, and then try this. Okay. And so anywhere we see stuff like this, like xf.p.setCenter, right? What the reason they did this is they're trying to avoid object allocations, right? This makes sense when anytime you say new rotation, Java has to allocate a new object. But when they're value classes, the thought kind of like the intuition flips. Like you actually want to be making the new instances of value classes. Okay, I think it's anytime I edit this polygon shape file. I don't understand why. We're just not going to touch that one.
So, with value classes, it also does some other interesting things too. Does it caches them, right? Just
No.
like, is there no like integer cache for value classes?
No, so the integer cache was a thing that Java has and had in the past from this experimental version, but has today, where like if you have an instance of the class Java lang integer and you got that from a literal in your program or calling integer.value of for a common range of numbers, so like up to like 128, I don't know if it's to 0 or to negative 127 or something, it will use a cached instance. And that's because every instance of Java lang integer has a unique identity. And making 100 instances of a class that just represents 5 is pretty stupid.
Right.
So that's what the integer cache is for. With value classes, now Java doesn't need to consider, because integer will not have a unique identity. It doesn't need to do that anymore. And
I
the
did see
VM
in
can
Project Valhalla, a lot of these classes, a lot of the JDK implementation is getting changed to value classes. Like for instance, all the number classes, integer, double, float, etc., are becoming value classes.
that is
Which
correct.
so that'll I think will automatically like right out of the box get a lot of optimizations, especially if you're using the non-primitive types.
Hmm.
So
Okay,
that's really interesting to see.
we're going to go here. Let's do class that doesn't have many. So we got a bunch of classes to touch here. We're going to go to transform.java. I'm not going to touch anything for a second in case this is cursed. Okay. Q.setAngle, we say Q. Oh my God. It happened again.
What is going
Okay, this,
on?
I don't know.
I wonder if it's the experimental Java version or if it's your IDE. You're
I
not using
don't,
any. Are you using a local or sorry, a stable branch for your IDE?
I'm not
Yeah, you
using the
are.
experimental branch. Okay,
Did the audio just drop, or you just like stop mid-word?
I think it might have dropped.
Oh.
I'm just going to send him a quick message.
Yeah, it's like I can hear you, Hayden.
Yep. Yeah. I think
Eth-
maybe his headset died.
Ethan, if you can hear us, we can no longer hear you. We apologize for this, anyone that's listening. We just have a technical issue where we lost our guest. Lost our guest's audio. We are currently trying to get this back.
I imagine he's talking and giving a lot of wisdom. I can't. It doesn't seem like we can ping him because he's got streamer mode enabled or something where he's not getting these pings.
No,
So
I don't
I'm
think
trying
he
to
has.
think of a clever. I'm trying to think of a clever way.
Oh, wait, something just
Oh,
left the
there we go.
call. He just left the call. I think he's rejoining. Or his phone
Yeah.
died, one of the two.
Oh, it must have been his phone. Right.
Okay, so we need a way to, like, notify him that his phone died. Oh my god.
I wonder if we can recall him.
Not on this phone, but we could probably, like, I don't know if I can drop him from the call and recall him, but really sorry to the guys in the live chat and the live video that are watching this. We are currently experiencing a technical issue. And he used he has his other account deafened, so he's not hearing the notifications on his computer, and he doesn't realize that. So we are having a okay.
I'm gonna try calling him back. Let's end the call and try calling him back.
Well, I'm gonna stay in here, see if you can manage to get a hold of him. I'm gonna stay in here with the stream going, so we can at least watch what he's doing. But if you want to try, to call his desktop,
sure. Give me 1 second.
again, I do seriously apologize to our viewers for this. This was just a slight setback. He was joining us on his phone, and his phone seems to have died. So just give us a moment, bear with us while we reconnect with him and try to reach out to him.
Hello?
Oh, there we go. Ethan is back with us.
Oh, I didn't realize you lost me. How long have I been doing stuff without explaining what I was doing?
About 5 minutes.
Cool. Welcome back.
Welcome.
From my perspective, there was no break.
Yeah, I think your phone just straight up died.
No, my phone's still on. Anyways, if you were watching, the only thing I've done is I've continued on this chain of getting rid of these mutating methods. And in here, see the M transform, I changed it from final so that I could do the updates. But I wanted to remember that it used to be final. So I marked it with was final, so we can revisit that later. Right, so here, this set identity, we want to get rid of all the uses of this. Right, and some of these kind of suck to do. Final transform identity equals temp transform. Okay, interesting. So it seems like they are preserving they're doing a lot of things to avoid object allocations, which made a lot of sense in the past. But nowadays, with value classes, assuming you just wait for the optimizations, who cares? So what we're going to do, I think, yeah, I read that right. All they are doing is using these as ways to avoid allocations, which we are not going to bother with. Okay, there we are. There we are. And I assume there's going to be more stuff later on, but we can get rid of these fields because we are, again, not caring about making new instances because we intend at least these things to be value classes. So now rotation.set. Rotation equals temp rotation. Yeah, see, every time through they want to make sure they're not reallocating new things. Which, yeah, makes a lot of sense.
I can see that with the temporat. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Rotation equals new rot.
Temporat, the temp vex they got too as well. And more temp transformers.
Yep, there's a ton of temp things here. But you see how, like, this is certainly doing something. I don't know what the math behind solve pressure is. And I never will. All I know is that once I get rid of all these red lines and hit run, if it looks about right, and I'm not doing anything too creative, then I've won. And we can run the performance stuff after that. For now, we're fighting a fight. Have there been anyone commenting? Anyone watching us?
Not yet. However, thankfully, Hayden's been throwing out some questions that a typical viewer would ask.
We will have viewers from our VOD that will watch this in the future. A lot of our viewers, too, come from other parts of the world where they're probably sleeping right now.
Mm-hmm. Because my normal streams were typically in the AM at like 8 o'clock my time, 9 o'clock my time. So like 12 hours ago. So a lot of my consistent viewers are from earlier. However, look at that. Prof has Prof from Together Java has just left a comment saying that Ethan is a mad genius.
All right. Okay. So equals temp to.
Prof, you can learn some of his mad skills from his online book, Modern Java. Link is in the description. No, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm trying to advertise you, dude.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, we got rid of a few of these set identities. Identity.setIdentity. Okay. Identity equals new transform. This probably if anyone who worked on this is watching this probably feels extremely painful. Actually, I don't need to touch that at all. This probably feels extremely painful because, like, they put in so much work to avoid object allocations, and all the work I'm doing right now is to undo that process that probably took them a lot of time, effort, and energy. Equals new transform does set identity. You can do that as a was final as well. Because again, I'm not able to really audit all of these uses. Right? It feels like, right, like hypothetically they could call one the set somewhere else here. We'll get back to it. Okay, back to new transform. Slowly all this goes away. So M transform A equals new transform, then they call set identity.
So I just want to pull out something here. Notice how these, like, I don't know if Hayden, if you notice this. Notice how there's things here done up in blocks, but they're not like there's no method name or anything. They're just done up in blocks. Have you seen that?
Just taking scope.
Have you seen that before?
I've seen it a couple times. I have.
Yeah.
I forget.
Okay, we don't need that. By default, it's an identity transform.
I forget what that's called.
It's just to create a new scope. That's all it does.
I mean, in this case, it seems to be used to group things.
Yeah, I didn't really see the
Equals
purpose of the
new.
one way they did it, but
Doesn't need to have a mechanical purpose. Sometimes you just write code a certain way.
Here's something too. If you have two scopes, you could have two variable names with the same name within each of their own scopes. So
Yes, you could.
quite literally copy and paste code verbatim on top of each other using the same variable names, but they would not be associated with each other because they're a part of their own scope.
Okay, I'm going to make a checkpoint here because we changed a lot. But we've gotten rid of .set identity. That is one of the many setting mutating methods on here. Next,
I do like you. I do like
watch.
your use of atomic commits.
Off there. This .p.set p, okay, and q.set angle. Okay, well, I think this just needs a constructor for a rotation and an angle, which we don't have yet. Yeah, we just don't. Ah, I picked a really good time.
Right?
You were doing so well. It was the little IDE that could. He was chugging.
One of these days I'll understand why this is happening. There's a chance maybe I should just upgrade this, like I just haven't a bit. I have a pro subscription. I am on the trial here just because I didn't log in. Maybe that's part of the issue. Well, let's search for something.
Interesting though, because it says you have. Oh, you can check your updates by the cog in the top right corner behind your GPU thing there. Yep, there is an update.
Sure, let's do it. Maybe that'll fix it.
I doubt it, but yep.
Includes a hotfix for a memory leak in large Maven projects.
Oh, well, there you go. This might fix it.
Yeah.
That's
you know what?
hilarious.
I would classify this as a large Maven project.
So would I.
How convenient is that?
Right?
Allowed to make changes. But anyway, so yeah, we're gonna keep chugging along on transform. And remember, we started with rotation. But yeah, transform, rotation, and vec2. If we can knock all those out, I am very curious what the perf says. Because, okay, arrays, flattening is a bit of a thing, but they can also do what's called on-heap flattening. So, like, if you have a instance of these things as a field in a class, they can flatten it there as well. And that has less restrictions on it. No.
I'm being generous. Some days I will send stats.
I don't. It's not that I think I'll never be helpful. It's that it's just one more thing that could go wrong right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, transform. Okay, I gotta turn off whatever this is. Get out of my life. Transform. Float angle. Okay, so this dot p is that. In this dot q is new rotation of that angle. Good. And now let's go to where we set this. Distance test. Go here.
Oh.
Dios mío.
Good fight. This is why you send in your data so they know where they fucked up.
You can't swear on YouTube.
I can't. Well, I mean, I've cursed the odd couple times. It's not exactly something you should do. There's definitely
Okay,
some
well, I
words.
need to write all that again. I think the thing that annoys me the most isn't that it crashes, is it clearly it decided it's going to crash before
Before it
before it
crashed.
does. Right, and so it's like I lost everything I did just then. Which is
Control
fine.
S. Control S and save.
I'm not going to trust that. I will go up here and do File, Save All.
See? Control S. That was the hotkey.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying I'm not going to trust the hotkey. Okay, transform.set. Okay, transform.
Oh,
That happened again.
So it must be
Before I
your
reset.
code completion. Because anytime you hit dot when it tries to do the autocomplete or whatever, or like the code completion for like whatever fields are in there, I think that's what's crashing you. Is it's trying to read when it's trying to parse that file to see what all available.
Right.
Is
So you're
there a
telling me
way?
it's
No,
you're
it's not
telling me
it.
it's the AI.
No, it's not the AI. It's the IntelliSense, which is just their code completion thing that they've had since before AI was a hot topic.
Well, let's see if we can turn it off.
Code completion.
Inline completion.
I seen it there. It was second from the top. Code completion. Complete current.
Down. Oh,
No?
down. Code completion. Down lower.
Oh,
Or that works too. I think. Yeah. We'll see if that works.
oh well.
It really is certain files that seem cursed. I'm just going to find particle system when we get back to this. I've killed IntelliJ more in this one session than I've ever had to do it.
I was gonna say this stream has been going for an hour, and you've murdered this more than I've seen in one sitting.
I'm really not doing anything weird. Maybe let's maybe go to my plugins and make sure, because I have other things going on here. Nothing egregious, right? But yeah, get rid of that. Get rid of Cradle. Don't need this. Don't need this right now. Don't need that. Don't need that. There we are. What's one more restart?
Right at this point.
Okay, now we'll go to. Well, let's just try it again. You ready? I think it's going to crash the moment I hit the enter key.
Aww. Oh my god.
You know what? What if we do a demonstration on just value classes versus non-value classes? Just some very primitive demonstration.
Oh, I don't care if anyone's learning anything right now. I want to fix this. Okay, I'm going to get to particle system not by clicking on that. I should be able to just find it. Particle system. Okay, let's click enter on a different part of this file. Okay, seemed good. Now I'm going to go back to the cursed area. Okay. I'm not mad at all. groupdef.position, groupdef.angle. Now, I think there is a chance that this is going to have a little bit of a bug in it right now. It won't eventually once we make vec2s also be immutable, but let's just say .clone here, just to be safe, right? Our .clone will become a no-op later.
Right.
But okay, .set, distance test. Okay, that took me 10 minutes to do that, so I'm just gonna
make a quick save.
God damn it. Nope, it decided it hated me. It did it already.
Did it drop already?
No.
No way.
Yeah. Yep.
Jeez.
It's frozen.
Oh my god. I wonder if this has something to do with how intelligent or how JetBrains merged the two versions of the IDE they had, the community and the ultimate, when they merged them together.
I don't think so. That's just a distribution thing. That's not.
Well, I say that because this has happened to me more often since the 2025 .3 update, which was when they did the merge. So like
I've not encountered this issue yet.
It just led me to wonder. We do have other people chatting in here now too. Hex. Hello, Hex. And yes, he is still on Windows 10. And Hex is asking you why not switch to Linux.
Why not switch to Linux? I use this machine to play Grand Theft Auto with the boys. Now, I can't do that. I can't do that on Linux, and I think going through even if you point me to a wind page that says like, yeah, you can do it, man. I'm not gonna do it. I've been through that. Middle school was a time. Gaming on Linux. I hope Steam's whole thing pans out with their Steam machines and whatnot. But for now, I need a Windows machine to play video games with my friends. Okay, we're gonna do that. We're gonna quickly do file, save all. We're gonna hit it, commit. Thank God. Okay, now we're gonna go transform. We're gonna .clone. And every time I do anything right now, I'm gonna do a quick file,
Control S,
save all, and a git commit. Okay, cool. So we have two more places here where I think if I click this, it will crash, but that's fine. Why did I say that's fine? I didn't actually think that. I was just hoping it wouldn't. Okay, back we go.
Psychology.
Override's in the chat now too. Welcome, Override.
Hi, Override.
Yep, it's 9 o'clock, so everyone's gotten out of their jobs.
The boys are in the chat talking. They're in there talking about Linux.
That's good for them. I'm glad they have hobbies.
I like my Linux for production. I use Windows myself for everything, every day-to-day use.
Anyone remember the name? You know what? Before, when I did this distance test, so I should be able to do distance test.
And hope this doesn't crash out.
Same. I should have. Every time I feel like I have confidence. This is a cavalcade of errors. I really do not know what's causing this.
Yeah, I've never seen IntelliJ fail so many times in 1 hour.
Are you able to click that dump stack button, or does everything freeze and it doesn't?
Yes, I am. I'll do it next time. I did it one time before the stream. I thought, I think everyone here would have thought that, oh, this is just a nonsense issue. Don't worry about it. It won't happen again. But clearly it did. What? Everything else search.
Prof is telling you to use just use Vim.
Yeah, that's fine. Why am I forgetting how to search? Oh.
Control F or double shift.
I think find in files.
Distance test. Here we go.
Org JBox2D testbed tests. Okay. Oh, thank God.
Man says he does this to go to bed because it's relaxing.
Well, to be fair, most of the time my IntelliJ isn't crashing. I think that's a crucial component.
Oh, very much so.
Okay, that's fine. Well, over here, I'll get that one. Where is the dot set on the transform? Because there was another one. I'm going to smack this. Input. Equals. Okay. Got a lot of them. Let's go back to transform. Think all these are gone.
Nice.
Okay, crashed. But I got to commit right before it did.
Thank shit.
We're back in business.
Yeah. Oh well, get it next time.
Yeah. Let's hope there's not a next time, but yeah, realistically, we'll get it next time.
It's sad that it's becoming reflex to just go to terminal or go to task manager, cancel. It's becoming a reflex.
Yeah. Okay. So this one is the last one. Well, I think we saw that if I just go at it from the side, like I don't could do the click to definition here. We're good. So input transform a.set. Okay.
You can see the red lines on the side. What? Looks like
I
you
was
got.
expecting it was removed function, so we didn't change that one.
No, I knew it was going to crash because I went here and it didn't show the changes I just made. So here we are.
Let's wait for the dump.
Yep. No, this one's not going to dump for some reason. It'll be like, oh, it's not responding sometimes, and then other times it won't. It's crazy because we're looking at memory usage. It's not using everything.
Right, you still have half your memory usage.
Encountering some issue. What if you try cleaning the project?
I mean,
maybe.
Prof had suggested deleting the IDE file and then reopening it, and it kind of just resets everything.
Maybe. I think cleaning the project's not a bad idea because, okay, let's think of ways this could be going wrong. I did do a build with value classes. We know that random things will break if you don't know how to parse a class file, and maybe something in the background is parsing class files.
Oh, you still with us, Ethan? Ethan, are you still with us? Hayden, can you hear me? Okay, you boys can hear me. I can't hear you. Okay. 1 second, let me drop the call and rejoin. Yeah, my thing just dropped all the way out. Well, there we go. Do this again.
Hello?
There we
I'm
go.
getting a totally normal amount of
Sorry about that.
issues.
Well, my for those of you that have been in a Discord call with me and my oh wow, okay, hold on. Apparently we're on the wrong window for Discord now that I've ended the call and come back into it. Hold on, we're looking at our whoop,
No
you
clue what's
just
happening.
just give me a second. I got a minor
Thing of the stream.
yeah, I got a minor issue where it's bringing up the wrong window. And
Yep,
now it's
partially.
there we go.
Glabay is also using Windows. I also use Windows 2 just for gaming as well.
I
And
am
most proprietary software is written for Windows.
I am on Windows 11. I finally at least took the dive to Windows 11, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't like it. I'm half tempted. I'm half tempted to install a version of Linux on my day-to-day computer, simply because of the stuff that Microsoft is doing. But that's not for this stream.
Yeah, one thing that I found that it did, so I disabled OneDrive. Now, every time I restart my computer, I have a blue screen that asks me if I want to re-enable OneDrive.
Okay, well, anyways, I got
I was gonna say, what was that dump at the top? I thought I saw
no, yeah, no, there's stuff.
thread state. Something ain't thread safe.
No, I mean there's something waiting on a thing, but that's not necessarily the issue, right? This is a thread dump of all the threads. And a lot of these are
Why?
coroutine threads.
Yeah, why is it executing any sort of Kotlin code?
Because it's IntelliJ. This is a thread dump of IntelliJ.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's not just the app. Yeah, that's the whole thing. I would be curious towards what we needed grep to look through this for the applicable crash, but
Well, to stack trace, it'd be on either extreme end.
true.
I do promise, usually this is a relaxing thing to do. The reason I'm usually using a old Mac I had as a work laptop, and it doesn't work. It doesn't break like this constantly.
I
But
hate to
okay.
I hate to do this, but I will be back in just a quick second. I've had too much coffee and not enough bladder. This happened on the first stream that we did too. I'll be back in just a second.
Yep.
There's a piss stream joke in there. I just can't make it right now. Yeah, the problem is that this does expect a set. Okay, let's look here again. So it's in collision. Motherfucker. Sorry, everybody.
No worries. I don't
I
think
am
anybody
worried.
minds.
I'm just gonna go straight to collision.
All right, sorry about that.
Okay. Equals XFB. So, okay, we've done a few of them. Save. You have to admire how consistent they are in this whole thing.
It's true.
Okay. World and particle system are the next things. So I've saved. Should be good. Let's go to world. Or maybe particle system. Particle system is very cursed.
A little bit.
Transform. Dot set. Okay.
And we died.
Okay. And we died. But okay, we'll know where to target next time.
So we'll open this up in Notepad++, and I'll have crashes.
That is not the worst idea in the world. The issue with that is that we'd mostly be tracking, like there are alternative editor things we could do here, right? Like even the VS Code editor isn't that bad, right? If it's a Maven project and if it's a default setup, right? So we could try that. We might try that in a sec because this is very painful, but we're not there yet. Okay, particle system. Okay, transform equals transform. Thank God. Save, commit, push. Now, I have no clue where the three red lines are there. If it crashes again, I think we'll take a little detour and try VS Code, because why not at this point?
It's the worst that could happen. More crash.
Who knows?
Okay,
okay. Yeah, we got a lot of these mull things.
Which types do you expect after they've been converted to values to yield the most performance from this application?
Honestly, Vec, rotation, and transform seem like really good candidates.
Right? That makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I do not know where the actual performance bottlenecks are on this thing, right? We are just doing a mechanical transformation over and over and over again, which was, and I promise, a very relaxing thing to do. This is just especially annoying. Okay, now here, where's the last one? World.java.
And after you've resolved this class, that should be it for vectors?
No. So we're not doing vectors yet. We've been doing transform.
Oh, sorry.
And it's only that's only it for those not set methods. There's a bunch of methods that, what is this? M gravity dot set gravity. There's a bunch of methods that seem to be just multiply a transform by another thing and actually mutate something else. And I want to touch those too. I don't know if we necessarily need to, though. Okay.
It's going to take a second here. Hacks is in the YouTube chat asking where we're all chatting at. Us on the live stream, we're in a private group DM at the moment. But yeah, we're just in a private group DM. Usually we're in a public channel, but we wanted to make sure that nobody was recorded that didn't want to be.
Yeah, program. Where was this? ID projects. JBox2D. Yeah, I trust the authors. Let's see if I have a Java. We're going to trust Oracle for 10 seconds here. They might not be worthy of that trust. And we're going to increase the font size so people can actually read this.
Also, just to touch on this, the fact that Hacks there just question about where we're at. Maybe one of these times we should do this inside of the Midnight Coders Discord, where we're inside of like a stage, like the Midnight stage. I'll maybe switch that up to the Dev Cafe, and we'll do this in there.
We can
So
get some live feedback from Discord as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea for one of the future podcasts that we do, or one of the future live streams that we do.
Cool. Does anyone have the preferences? That makes sense. Okay. Font. 28.
Is there an apply button?
No,
Or is
I
that
think
like
that did it.
editor?
Yeah, no, I want the font for the...
Prof just said
No.
Control Shift plus and Control Shift minus in Visual Studio to zoom in and out.
Yes, but he wants the font size. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's
That looks perfect.
probably fine.
Yep.
And we don't need it to compile here, which you see everything's sort of failing. I mean, we ideally want it to, but honestly, I just need an editor. And this seems, yep, good enough. We've done it.
No crash. We're good.
Yeah, I'm going to actually do a little bit lower than 28 because that's a little bit too hard to manage.
Well, you could probably go back with 14, but now with the zoom in feature.
No, it's fine. Okay.
Actually, no, that's pretty good.
Well, you take what you can get. Okay, let's do class world. I think that's how we'll do it. We'll use IntelliJ to give me guidance as to what I need to edit. And then we'll edit it in VS Code.
Well, I believe VS Code is actually giving you the errors right now.
No,
It's not. Not for everything. Like,
Okay.
it's not letting me do find... Well, let's see. Go to references. It kind of is, but it's not that smart about it. Oh, no, this is Vec2 set, which I guess we haven't touched yet. So, yeah, maybe it is. Transform. Let's do this one. Find references. Oh, no, not find rep.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Final variable XF was final. It was. I promised at one point that was final. Okay.
Boys are on a hot
Equals.
debate over C# now in the chat.
That's good for them. Again, I'm happy everyone has hobbies. For body B, whatever. Okay, and it sets. See, I don't mind changing these final things because honestly, they're mutable. They just didn't want to allocate again. That seems to be what's going on here. And yeah, we're just gonna make them allocate again. Okay. Go to references. No results. Okay, get rid of that. This is fine. Mul to out. Mul to out unsafe. What is the difference between these? I know I shouldn't be looking too
deep into
assert
it.
V does not. Oh, I get it. I see what's happening. They're both of these I want to replace. So this one is it's going to write into this vector the result of multiplying this other vector by the transform. But it doesn't know that these are distinct vectors, and so it has to have this temp y thing. But the unsafe one assumes they're different and just does the math straight out. So I think that's fine, but considering I want to make Vec2 be final and everything as well, both of these can go. So let's see what else we got. Multrans to out, mul2 to out. Yeah, every single one of these 2 outs will change. If we get to the end of this and it works, I'll be so happy. About an 8-hour stream.
Now we shouldn't have as many interruptions with crash after crash.
Yep. Okay, get world point to out. Okay, find references. Good God, everybody. Stop doing this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's a fractal. Like everything in this entire program assumes mutable vectors and mutable things, and it does that because they want to avoid allocations, which makes a ton of sense in a world where allocations are expensive and or just non-zero cost. But with value types, we kind of want to just keep using value types because that's what's actually able to be optimized. At least that's what the mental model we're working with. So okay, let's work here, body, get world point to out. Okay, here's get anchor A, which goes to this vec2 arg out, which overrides a method in joint. So, okay, now we've reached a point where we need to change how joint works. In order to get this to work. Get anchor A. Okay, let's see references of this. Is it just one place? That's nuts.
That's wild.
Okay. So get anchor A. This is going to break a lot. We're going to make this return a vec2. You get anchor B, we're going to make this return a vec2 instead of take it as an argument. And now every single class which extends joint, which I remember there being like 15 of them, is now broken. But I think if I do go to references, it should still work. Nope. Let's keep the vec2 argument here for a sec so I can go to references correctly. There's an interesting thing going on here with a pool. Now, I don't know. For sake of my sanity, I am going to do a dot set here, right? And then remember, vec is very much on our list of things to kill later.
Exactly.
But a point joint.
Yeah, this is what to say. I think that was renamed to the thing I enjoy.
Get it? Cannot be applied. Vec2 found types.
Because get anchor is still looking for that parameter.
Yes, it is.
Get anchor A, yeah, what's parameter?
Get anchor A, get anchor B. This is the only one that we did not do this for. Okay. Now, let's do file autosave on. Because that's annoying to not be on. Go to references. Okay, cool. The only place where that method was used is now fixed. But, unfortunately, the places where this method is implemented is very different. So what do we got here?
Actually, a lot less than I thought for that one.
Let's just do extends joints. Let's see how many classes we got that do that. Good. Yep. Okay. Down here.
Way down to the bottom.
Seems like
There you go.
no up. Awesome. Wait. What do you mean? What do you mean no up? Does that mean...
Now, how are you going to return that here?
Well, it was marked as an out argument, right? Which makes sense, but at the same time, I feel my spider sense is telling me that some of these implementations are gonna read it. Get world point to out. No.
The no up. Could you not just return the parameter that?
Oh yeah. So wait, p1.set, and it'll do the thing. Get the anchor point in world coordinates. And so the only place this is used is to set the thing. We are going to change this up in a way that will make everything slower. We're going to make this an optional vec2. That way we have something to do if it's not there. Now I could also return null. That's also an option.
I think
Nothing
optional.
inspires joy here.
I think optional is better than null itself, though.
We also gotta remember we're like, if we assume every single time I make something a value class, wow, that's gonna be faster. Which, you know, who knows? Anytime I do something like this, it's probably gonna make it slower. And this, you know, might be in a hot loop. Is what it is. Okay.
Did your other class, did that auto import optional?
No, did not. And I'll handle that in a second.
Okay.
The way we're gonna handle that, we're gonna say import module java.base. Okay, moving on with life.
Those of you who just had their mind blown, what is the difference between import a specific thing versus that import module? Because I'm sure a lot of people just kind of had their minds blown.
Import module is like a star import for everything that comes in like the basic Java package, if that makes sense. Or like java.util, java.util.function, all that stuff. Technically, all that comes in what's called a module. Modules are groupings of packages, and the Java base module contains a lot of packages, and including Java util optional. So that's why I have that there. Okay, cannot or else no. Okay, I think it's just a little confused. Well, that's fine. If anchor A doesn't equal null, p1.set anchor A. If anchor B doesn't equal null, p2.set anchor B. And again, this code here is going to have to change when we make vec a value class. Now let's go back to joint. Because we've just messed everything up, and I'm going to do the same trick here. Import module java.base. And this is a relatively new feature. Okay, that shall be fine. Now let's go here. Distance joint. When you ask for these anchors, well, it does a thing actually. Constant volume joint won't have anchors though.
Way down to the bottom.
Yeah. So for some reason, when I see this side preview, I assume that matches up. It does not.
No, that definitely doesn't.
Connect to return
optional of null.
Optional but empty.
Or empty, yeah. So now, just to touch on that, your spot where you're returning the previous check, where you're seeing the check to return this or null, is that still going to apply when you're returning an empty optional? Because you are going to get an
Yes.
optional of empty.
Yeah, so if this is an empty optional, it'll be null, which makes this next part work.
Yeah.
There's kind of a propensity for people to, I mean, if you have an optional thing and you can do dot map on it and get the result you want, that's good. But
Oh, I
it
just meant
also,
like in the difference
for,
of. I just meant in the difference of doing like if anchor a dot is empty.
yeah, then
like
you have to say if anchor a dot get, right? And I
Mhm.
just think that's worse. Right? If we have static analysis, it should be able to figure this out. I think nulls generally are easier to work with in local code if you are outside the bounds of like what you can do with the optional dot whatever things. Right? In this case, I could call p1.set in like optional dot if present p1 : set. That would work. But I also anticipate wanting to do something to this to make vec2 a value, and I don't know if that would work there. Okay, let's keep going through these joints. Friction joint. And by get world point to out. Yeah, I don't want that. Get world point, which generally seems to exist. And again, I'm going to do dot clone. Because until I make vec2 a value, which is just going to be a huge lift no matter what, until I do that, it's just going to be safer to clone it all the time. And when I do, I can leave clone in there as, a no-op, and Java should be able to optimize that. Okay. The difference here is the A's go to B's. Okay. Distance joint. Optional vec2. Quick fix.
Hey guys, I think I've got to step out a little bit early. So I'm gonna go now, but thank you very much for coming on the podcast with us, Ethan.
Yeah, we've accomplished nothing, but we've had a
We've
lot
had
of,
a good
but
time.
we've been very frustrated while doing it, and I think that's all that matters.
Absolutely. But you're in good hands. Mike and Ethan, I hope you guys have a great night. And thank you all of our viewers for watching. And I'll see you guys next time.
All right, dude.
Have a
Thank
good
you
night,
very
guys.
much. Thanks for joining us, man.
Of course. See you next time.
Have a good one. We'll see you next time.
Good riddance. Anyways.
He'll watch to that back and catch that.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. Okay, quick fix. I honestly, this has been going on for what, 3 hours now? I don't think he's gonna watch 3 hours of himself talking.
It's been an hour and 44 minutes. What are you talking about? I got a timer going.
Oh, okay. I'm just not keeping good track. Okay. Buddy B. B. Okay, we don't take this arg out. All right, I think I already handled friction joint. Gear joint. These all look vaguely similar, which is interesting to me. Optional vec2.
Got that. He heard you as you said good riddance. He commented in our chat. He said good riddance with a smiling face.
Oh, at least he's in good spirits about it. Okay. Optional of that.
Are you gonna clone that one too, or?
Oh my god, I've been forgetting to do that. I'll go back through the list and do it for all of them. But yes, I should be doing that. fair, these all look vaguely similar, so I might actually start copying
I was just wondering
the
that
whole
too,
code.
as watching you do this. I was wondering if those two voids were or those two methods were the exact same thing.
They are, but these are different fields. I don't think.
Hmm.
No, it comes from joint, actually. Interesting. So what I was thinking for a second there was, oh, well, maybe this field or this field. Yeah,
Oh, they.
no. So like here, this local anchor A is a field in this. So you can't. I mean,
Hmm.
if you look at this, this is already insane.
Hmm.
You know, um, it is hard to make this. You know, I don't think saving themselves copy pasting was a high priority. But yeah,
Hmm.
hypothetically, there's a way to put that somewhere in like a super class somewhere, but I don't know how to do it cleanly. And this is only one part of this already gigantic class. Return. I will copy this whole thing though, because gear joint, motor joint. How long is this scheduled for? You said early. I was getting to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm in
Hmm.
it.
I mean,
We're gonna keep going.
typically we try to go for like an hour and a half to 2 hours long, but I've had one of my biggest views was a 3 hour. I think it was a 3 hour live stream that had like near 27,000 views. So kind of hard to say.
Okay.
Some people like it long, some don't. Hello, Steven. Welcome to
Yep.
the chat.
Hi, Steven.
Steven's a buddy of mine. He was another guy that I used to mentor a few years back.
Ah,
He's got the mod tag
I
because he is a mod on my chat. He's Steven is actually one of the students that I used to mentor who actually encouraged me to make a YouTube channel.
optional vec2 get anchor A. Return m target A dot clone.
Optional of.
Yep. I think to loop back to now that the editor's not constantly crashing, I still need a bit to get off the cortisol levels from that one. But um, one of the relaxing things about this is that it's very mechanical. You might notice that kind of everything I'm doing here, even though we are hitting a huge stack of random stuff to do, is very forced, right? The moment I decided I want to make rotation a value class, we ended up here, right? Um, you could argue, and I think very successfully, that I should have just saved that one for later. There might have been other things to do. But, well, we're
Here
here.
we are.
Okay, getting B.
Don't forget your clone.
Yep. And so I fully expect if we get this working, which, you know, I think with enough time, it is certain that it would work. But if we get this working in a reasonable amount of time, right before all this pass out from exhaustion, I expect it to be much slower because of all these clones. Making Vec2 a value class is the real that is the real target. Rotation and transform are also good ones, but that one's the one. I also might expect there to be random bugs because I might have forgotten some of these clones some places. Optional of, and also I don't know if the clones matter all the time. That's also hard to say. Um, that's part of the actual problem with having mutable objects. Doing that sort of reasoning becomes a lot harder, and this is a very concrete example of it, where I'm doing extra clones because, kind of by necessity, I can't know the whole code base at the same time. And so I need to just be really pessimistic to make these refactors be robust. And that means cloning a bunch of vectors. Add import. It seems to be struggling on adding the import. Man, someone did a lot of math here. I hope they had fun.
All right.
Import module.
I wonder how long this initial project took to build.
Oh, I'm sure a ton of time. And also, like, it's a clone of a clone, right? From what we saw on the, and I understand people have joined. We are working on Box2D or JBox2D, 2D physics engine, which is a clone of Box2D and has some sort of relationship also with Liquid Fun, which was itself a box or itself a clone or a predecessor of Box2D. And so that's why we have a lot of these C++isms in the code. Because I assume the way this was constructed is very similar to how I'm doing this whole thing now, is someone took the code and translated it pretty mechanically from C++ to Java, right? And nothing wrong with that. I mean, clearly this is annoying, but I have no reason to believe what they had before was bad code by whatever metrics they would use. QA.set. Well, let's just deal with this while we're here. This is interesting. Oh boy. Got more joints to go through. Let's finish these up, then I will deal with the pool thing I keep noticing places. Optional deck 2. So here's my fear. My fear is that the pool is doing things that care about the identity of vectors and whatnot. Now, that's very manageable if we can either replace how the pool is working right now to, instead of giving you references to vector objects, to give you like indexes or like pointers or cursors might be a better word for it, to those vector objects, right? Then you can keep everything working mostly the same. Or if it just didn't matter, we can delete the pool. That'd still be a lot of work, but that's another good case scenario. The worst case scenario is that it's going to be hard to do anything other than vector objects. And as we saw there, rotation objects too. It seems like there's a lot of pools going on. And it matters that they're set directly. And it's not just like a performance optimization. Like things rely on it. That would be terrible, just because of how much time it would add. If that ends up being the case, we can call it. We're not getting this done tonight. And depending on if we follow up on this later, and I'll have, if you can find my GitHub, you could.
Well, I mean, if this gets a little bit longer than intended, I mean, by all means, we can always pick it up tomorrow evening, if you're around or available.
Yeah, if I'm around or available, but at a certain point, you just need to throw the towel in. Because the goal of this, well, yes, the goal is ostensibly replace things with value classes, because then make fast. If it's going to be a ton of work, and you're not getting paid for it, eventually you just pull the plug and go, that was fun, right? And did we learn things doing this? Yes.
Oh hell yeah! As long as we learn something and accomplish something, it's good. It's a win. And honestly, I feel like our viewers definitely could take away some wins from this. There's been some great tips and some, especially just learning what a value class is a big win.
Yeah.
I like
anyways,
Project
to reiterate
Valhalla.
this, because we have more viewers now than at the beginning. The point of doing these kinds of projects where you just go through an existing thing and refactor a bunch of stuff is, one, you might get a cool result in the end, but two, it helps you practice the skill of reading code. And reading code and like editing code you've just read is most of what you do professionally as a software engineer. When it comes to code, there's other aspects of the job, but it's most of what you do day to day in the code. You are going to read code that either you in the past or another team member or another team wrote, and you need to edit it. So there's not really a way to practice that skill other than to do something like this, right? Just go into an old crusty code base, have a name, and try to change it up to fit your goals.
I
Okay,
agree.
what is going on here? Void, type it not allowed here. Oh.
2 out.
Yep. We're going to ignore... Wait a second. Okay, read this code with me to make sure I'm
Yeah.
not having a seizure.
Yeah, I'm just tilting my head at that.
Get world point. Takes in a local point, got it. Makes a new blank vector, and it calls this get world point to out on local point, great.
And then just returns the vec without doing anything. Like, what?
So I think what's happening here is they meant to write that. And that's just a bug. And like until I did this stuff, I don't think much used. Yeah, no, nothing in the code used get world point. This method was there. They just never. But wait, local point the body relative to the origin. Get the world coordinates of a point.
These origins are the same point. Best. So would they not be trying to set that world point in, like, get world point? Should that not be returning something right there and then be setting that into the new created vector?
Well, there's this transform mold to out where I don't know where its out comes from. Right, I know what mold to out does. It just
Is the out supposed to be the point that's passed in, so that, like, that's like the output that's returned, like, should be returned?
let's try this. Return transform up mold. I think this is what it's trying to do. Boy, am I confused though.
Yeah, that's
right, because it does look like, yeah, I must have touched this. At some point I must have touched this and out went away, but I didn't touch this, so I don't know what happened there. We can go, let's get a checkpoint here. And there's a, let's call it in like 15 minutes, just so we don't go on literally forever. We'll stop editing code, we can kind of talk out from there. But
okay. We'll wrap things up in 15. That sounds good.
yeah. I don't know how productive I'll be while extremely tired and looking down the barrel of a million little things to change. But there's a sect of people who will argue that while you're refactoring code at every step of that refactor, your tests should pass, or like the code should still compile. For things like this, where this is deep, right? The entire library, the entire dang thing relies on the assumption that you have mutable vectors, you have mutable rotate, you have a lot of mutable things. Cases like this, there's no way. You know,
yeah, really though.
I'm sorry, but we've touched dozens and dozens of files here, and all of them have these deep assumptions.
It's definitely an iceberg.
What are we looking at? We're looking at body.java.
And
okay,
the out value there on line 748
used to be V. Okay, good. Okay, so it was me being weird, but now that I know what it's doing, we can just do that. Good. And we don't actually every single place you do get.
I was about to say, where's that used?
Well, I don't want to do find usages because I don't want to lose all these joint references.
Okay.
You know what? Let's checkpoint here. Obviously, I'm missing a bunch of joint things, and there's other stuff going on. But one thing I want to look into before we end is what's going on with those pools. Right? Because I did mention that. There's some pool thing going on here. And I'm very what is this? Dynamic stacked. Push pop. Okay. AABB is not public. It should be public. Did I mess that up?
Oh,
yeah, we can get rid of that.
oh, it's because of the fact that this is not picking up that you're in an experimental mode.
Yeah, and I didn't set that up. I before we started this whole thing, I got IntelliJ working with that, and I just did not do that. It's fine because again, all we're doing is abiding by the restrictions of value classes. The actual marking it as value is, technically speaking, just an optimization if we are not hitting any of the identity stuff, which we shouldn't be. But most of the work has clearly been in just changing these fields to final. So that being said, it's fine. Okay, let's go back to iWorldPool. Okay, all this is fine. There's a push and pop. I'm fine with the pool existing. Default world pool. There's a lot of settings to this. What are they for? Push items, yeah, no, that's fine. A dynamic stack. Same functionality as a regular Java util stack. Object return order does not matter. Okay. But why are people like, what is this for? Let's go to references of iWorldPool. I have a hypothesis. My hypothesis is that I'm right, which is always where I start, but it's that everywhere that uses a pool, what they're trying to do is just avoid making new instances of things like Vex, right? So anywhere there's like a push and pop Vec2, it's trying to just avoid making vector objects, which with value classes, I don't think we need to do. There's so much in this library that is straight up just trying to optimize around object allocation, which makes a lot of sense if we don't have value classes and we're assuming that object allocation is expensive, which historically is true. I mean, object allocation is expensive is not relatively true, but if you want like games, which JBox2D and simulations in general, games are what you call a soft real-time simulation, right? Like they don't have to be like a flight computer, but they should, update every frame or something. Having a bunch of object allocate.
Prophet said that pools are probably a remainder from the C++ because C++ allocations are hella expensive.
That makes sense. And I think in that context, almost all of it is probably like the entire design of this is a remainder from the C++ design of it. Right, so here, okay, let's look at this one. C.1, pop vec, pop vec, pop vec. So you got some vecs here. And then I think what's going to happen is when we're done with them, they're going to push the vecs back on. So let's look in here. Push. Spell push wrong. Push. Push vec2 3. Oh, that's weird. So here, they pop 3 vec2s. Then, when they're done, they call push vec 3, which I think I just scrolled past. Oh, wait, no. They pop 3. They might pop some more in between. But yeah, here, push 3, and then here I assume there's going to be 2 more pops.
They were lower.
Oh, yeah, push vec 3, 2. And so here, pop vec 3, pop vec 3. Oh my god. Okay, that's fascinating. So every time they pop a vec, they later push it back on. I think
prof had said that an allocation in C++ is a syscall to memory map, which competes with all running processes for virtual memory.
Right. And in Java, generally allocations are much cheaper because the VM's handling it, and like your best case scenario is just a pointer bump, right? It's not that allocating a bunch of stuff is always okay, right? Like I would fully believe something like this that makes a bunch of vectors would benefit from not allocating stuff. But yeah. So this refactor we're trying to do, I think touches almost every single line of this entire code base.
Yeah, that's definitely an
which
iceberg.
is so cool. But I think the good news is we can discount the thought that like, oh, if you pop it from the pool, something else is going to see those mutations. Because I think what's happening is that's like you allocate then deallocate, right? Which makes sense. And so we don't need to worry about that for, man, you could go in here and just make these no ops. And that might end up being the way to do it, because who cares? I do want to find where we have, yeah, it's a default world pool, ordered stack. So, okay, we got this class here, ordered stack, which has this, and I think everything's implemented on this. So, okay, pop, yeah, it gets you the thing, and if you push, that's great. That's awesome. Okay, so you pop, it's just going to pull the first few things off there. End of stack reach is probably a leak somewhere. Container array is too small. Yeah. So unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to do it like this. So see, ordered stack is right. Like ideally, I just want to do this. Right. Like, and to be clear, the context here is we're trying to do. We're just trying to get rid of all this because we don't care. We are assuming that all of this was premature optimization, which maybe it's not. Maybe in the presence of value classes it is. But now we can just say, okay, return supplier get oh man, do we really need a we're just gonna, this technically isn't right. Oh no, I think it was using object array before. Array, new object, arg num 4. I love how the autocomplete is, yeah, you must be wanting to go to 10. So many people want to go to 10. I'll just let it be. I don't know if this has some AI nonsense going on, but array I equals supplier get. Actually, it's just container. Push. Who cares? Oh, wait, new instance would do it. Here, we don't even need the supplier. I think I might not have read this all super correctly. Whatever. Here we are, new instance, and hooray, we've successfully lobotomized this class. Now, all we need to do is lobotomize every single usage of it, because we're assuming absolutely none of this matters. And then the ideal state is you eventually just remove all uses of the pool, period. Now there's this stack going on here, which is interesting. I don't know why. Like, okay, I do assume it's related to the memory allocation thing, right? We got a new instance here and like a whole bunch of stuff. But I don't know if the usage pattern is exactly the same, because the other one was clearly you pop some off, you push some back on, right? It's just managing the allocations. These ones, less clear. And the reason it's less clear is that we got this new array here as well. Kind of weird. Let's see usages for PC stack. Get poly contact stack.
No usages or what?
No usages. Well, to be clear, it's also unknown to us what, like, okay, here are some usages of whatever's going on here. Like, this is weird. We'd see. It's unclear to us how we even use this library. We never made an example program doing that. We just assumed we'd be able to figure it out working backwards. Add type. Okay, world's got a lot of stuff going on here. And just so everyone who's come since we started remembers, we don't have to end exactly at 10:15, but I just got a little bit of a second wind. We started by saying, oh yeah, let's make these two fields final. What could go wrong? And that has necessitated all of these changes, right? Because these fields are final is such a deep assumption, or these fields are mutable is such a deep assumption, right? To make these not be mutable, you need to make the thing above them also not be, and that exposes all of this stuff.
The door to the rat hole. Or door to the rabbit hole.
It's certainly something. Okay. You know what? Let's wrap it up, because this will literally go on forever.
Yes, let's...
If you are thinking you want to get better at programming, a way to do it is to spend more time programming. Now, coming up with your own projects is hard, and honestly, writing code's a small part of the job. I would highly recommend doing nonsense like this. Pick an old project, pick something out there, and just change it in some way. Force yourself to engage with what the code is, even if it's something mechanical, especially if it's mechanical, right? Because you need to grind your understanding of mechanics and your understanding of code patterns, all this stuff. I will also say, when you do this, enter it with an open mind, right? Because as we saw, a lot of the patterns in here you'd call bad Java, right? And you know what? Maybe they are, but they are valid C++ patterns, or were valid or accepted at a different point in time. And going into code bases with that level of, I'm not going to call it maturity, but just flexibility, helps. And that's all I got. If you want to, this code as it is right now is on my GitHub. Feel free to continue the work. Otherwise, I will probably not touch this again until I get another burst of energy, which might not ever happen. Clabe, it's your show.
Well, that said, it looks like the coffee's run out, everybody. So thank you very much, Ethan, for joining us this evening and taking some time out of your busy schedule. If you guys have enjoyed this podcast, make sure to hit that thumbs up and smash the subscribe button so that you'll be notified of the next Dev Cafe. As always, keep your curiosity open, your skills sharp, and that coffee cup full.